Good evening. Welcome to Northbeat. I'm Megan Roberts. A former Iqaluit RCMP special constable convicted of sexual assault has been denied bail while he waits for the outcome of his appeal. Moses Ikidluak was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison last month for 3 counts of sexual assault. The assaults happened over a 13-year span. Ikidluak is appealing both his conviction and sentence. His lawyer wanted the sentencing judge to hear witness testimony from family and friends who could attest to the, quote, obsession the victim had with him. But Justice Jack Watson, who's presiding over the bail hearing, says those opinions are questionable and aren't relevant to the central question of whether consent was given. He says he's not persuaded there's a viable appeal for conviction. Ikidluak will remain behind bars until the outcome of the appeal is known. A Cambridge Bay man has been charged with 6 offences, most of which involve firearms. Nunavut RCMP were called to a resident on Ukpik Street yesterday morning after reports of an armed man. An alert went out to residents to stay away from the area. The 26-year-old man surrendered to police roughly 2 hours later. Police in Winnipeg are looking for a 24-year-old Inuk man who was last seen and heard from on Wednesday. Police say Johnny Arayutenak was last seen in the Polo Park area. He's described by police as 5'2" and of medium build with short brown hair and brown eyes. According to police, he was last seen wearing a gray hoodie, gray pants, and green sandals. His mother, Alice, tells CBC he also has a scar on his left eyebrow and could be wearing a white Winnipeg Jets hat. Police say they're worried for Johnny's safety. Alice says they're from Sanikiluak but have been in Winnipeg since March due to a family member's medical needs. Alice says the family has been to Winnipeg before, but this is the first time Arayutenak has gone missing. Police want anyone with information on his whereabouts to contact them. The family of a Fort Good Hope man who died just over a week ago say they want justice. Several family members of Harley Pirot say he was stabbed in mid-June and died at the Yellowknife Hospital a few weeks later on June 28th. So far, no charges or arrests have been made in the case. Judy Minico is Pirot's mother-in-law. She's traveling from Toledo to Fort Good Hope today for a funeral later in the week. But she says she's nervous because no one has been taken into custody. The alleged stabbing happened right before the community evacuated due to a wildfire. CBC News reached out to the RCMP about the stabbing and asked whether the evacuation prevented law enforcement from working in the community. We were told officers are investigating and they wouldn't provide any other details at this time. NWT residents came out to the Legislative Assembly today to voice their concerns about the healthcare system. They were speaking out about the problems they see with the new appointment booking system, a lack of family doctors, and long wait times.
It's an unfriendly system. It's almost like they're trying to deter you from using it. You know, when you phone primary care, you get, hello, you've reached primary care. If no one answers, be aware that we will answer your call in 1 to 2 to 4 business days, something like that. And then it goes on to say, please be made aware that if you need a doctor's appointment, it'll be 2 to 3 weeks from now. But the fact remains that during that time, you could do 2 things. You could get better, you could get more sick, and you could die.
It's my husband has cancer, and it's come back. So he has surgery planned in Edmonton and needs lab work. So he has a deadline, right? And it seems hard to get the deadline met.
Doan says her husband has been waiting for over a month to get critical lab work done. CBC News reached out to the NWT Health and Social Services Authority about the issues raised during the protest. No one was available for an interview. And the reduction of services at Yellowknife Public Health has been extended until further notice. That's because of a tuberculosis outbreak in the capital. The outbreak was revealed last week by the NWT's acting chief public health officer. Appointment requests will be limited to cases requiring urgent care. Patients who have non-urgent scheduled appointments will be contacted if their appointments need to be postponed. A spokesperson from the Northwest Territories Health and Social Services Authority says the reduction of services is to ensure capacity to respond to the outbreak of TB. The MV Louis Cardinal ferry outside of Sigachik is still closed. Technicians have been repairing the ferry and plan to work through the evening to finish up. The ferry has been shut down since Friday for essential maintenance. The GNWT confirmed today that work is being done on the vessel's fire suppression system. The ferry carries vehicles traveling the Dempster Highway across the Mackenzie River, and another update is expected tomorrow morning. The Nordica Degonier is finally offloading its long-awaited cargo destined for Rankin Inlet and the surrounding Kivadluk communities. The cargo ship had been stuck due to ice for several days, but northwest winds last week helped push the ice to the side to make way for the ship. Earlier this summer, we learned that 3 out of 4 commercial kitchens in the Yukon aren't in compliance with the territory's health code. Public health inspection reports also show many of those hotels and restaurants are repeat offenders. Now we know just how many restaurants the government has shut down over the last decade because of serious infractions. The answer is none. One food science professor says public health authorities can't be effective if they don't enforce the rules.
This is a problem with the public health inspection system across Canada, not just in the Yukon, is that they complain about having no resources, saying we've only got this number of inspectors for so many different restaurants, thousands of restaurants. But the reality is that if they actually did enforcement, close down the play or the bad players, then their job will be easier. They won't need to keep going to the same restaurant, 5 times a year saying, well, this is violation, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. And I think it's like everything else, it's enforcement.
Warner says there's a lot at stake in food safety. He says eating contaminated or expired food can make people sick temporarily, but it can also be lethal. Yukon Health and Social Services says it takes health inspection results seriously and is committed to ensuring food safety in the territory. There was a celebration in Fort Good Hope to welcome people back. Wildfires forced community members from home for 3 weeks. This weekend, evacuees finally began making their way home. The community held this drum dance on Friday to thank firefighters who worked to save Fort Good Hope and to come together as a community. Moment in Fort Good Hope on Sunday at the site of a fatal helicopter crash. Community members and firefighters gathered to honor Tom Frith. The helicopter pilot died in a crash on June 28th. He was helping to fight the wildfire threatening Fort Good Hope. Chief Colin Pirot led a prayer to honor Frith. He says Frith gave up his life for their community. The community put up a cross with Frith's name during the memorial while drummers played a prayer song.
Does public transit really need more police officers? And so this is it.
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
It is now believed the Titan was destroyed.
It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
All of this, just single detached homes.
Yes.
What do we know? How is that even possible? Well, with a little bit of help, I think we can explain it.
About that with Andrew Chang. Watch free on CBC Gem.
When we see Team Canada on the world stage, we're witnessing pure greatness. What we don't see is their struggle. We don't see Maggie McNeil navigating her anxiety, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander getting cut from his high school team, or Ellie Black hearing she's just too old to compete. What we don't see makes us who we are. We're all bravely facing the odds in our lives, and our bravery is our victory.
I'm such a fan of this show.
Listen to the podcast Q with Tom Power.
The story itself is so unbelievable.
The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
The presence I feel now is not something that I believed to be possible in the past.
So many people thought I couldn't do it. They doubted me.
Felt like I ripped my whole heart out.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I have to kind of repress my own self-doubt.
You're one of my favorite interviewers, so I was pumped.
Get out of here.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is unbelievable.
The heart and soul of any city is best served on a plate.
Très bon, merci.
I have some women to tell you about. You don't know them, but you will.
Thank you for choosing Plan B.
Tell me what I need to do to save my family.
Please enter your date of travel.
I can't do this anymore.
If you could go back, change things, would you do it?
An adaptive cycling program in downtown Yellowknife is giving new and experienced riders a new outlook on life and how they get around the city. Rowan Fleary has that story.
Well, the bikes feel amazing. It's so neat to be able to try something like this without purchasing it. They're quite expensive, but amazing alternative to a car.
For Bob Hermanitz, this isn't just any bike. It's an e-bike that he will get to use for a 2-week free trial. It's all part of the new program called Shift, which hopes to encourage people to give bicycles a try. Hermanitz says even during the biggest obstacles,
it handles amazingly well considering how big it is. Once you get used to the fact that your steering wheel is 3 feet in front of you.
Shift works like this. People sign up for a 2-week period and they are given a bike to use. For this rider, he's looking forward to making his way around the city with this new sustainable transportation. Adam Denley, organizer and co-founder, says the goal of the program is to get riders to see the value of bikes and make the shift.
So we figure after 2 weeks, if people really embrace the program, then it's just become part of their day-to-day. And then we kind of figured that people probably won't want to go back. Like when you spend that extra time being active, you know, you feel better and you feel sort of more connected to your community. And we kind of hope that at the end of the program, people will say, well, now I want to invest in a good quality bike so that I can continue doing this for, you know, most of the rest of the year.
The bikes are available every other Sunday at Sambake Park and will be adjusted based on the rider's needs. Right now, the services are running until October, with plans already in the works for next year. Rowan Fleary, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Rifle shooters in Iqaluit will finally have a chance to show off their skills in competition. For the first time, a shooting competition series will be staging matches in the north. TJ Deere has that story.
The Canadian Rimfire Precision Series will be holding 4 matches at Iqaluit shooting range this summer and fall. The series' first ever trip to the north gives local sports shooter Liam Burrows an opportunity to share the moment with others.
It's hugely exciting. I love this sport. It's been a big part of my life for 25 years.
The competitions will use .22 caliber long rifles. Shooters will have to try to hit steel targets from a range of distances. Rick Kutzigback is the founder and director of the series. He says each of the 4 matches will force shooters to adapt to different circumstances.
The positions are different, the round counts are different, the target sizes and distances are different, the engagement sequences are different. So it's a very dynamic, very challenging course of fire that tests people's marksmanship and their ability to develop a stable shooting position in the time limits.
Kutzigback says the popularity of precision rifle shooting has exploded in the last couple of years. So much so that through the series' competitions, 12 people represented Team Canada at last year's World Championships in Italy. For Nunavummiut, Burrows, who will also serve as match director for the competitions, says hunters can use them to improve their skills before going hunting on the land.
It's going to be really good for our local community as well and becoming more proficient and ultimately safer on the land with their rifles, because they're going to know how to do some more of these things and do this stuff. And, you know, safety is a big part of this sport.
Burrows says he's working with 2 companies to sponsor a bigger event for next year's Tunic Time Festival. The first match will be held next Saturday. TJ Deere, CBC News, Iqaluit.
The Kayaktukvik Community Food Center is releasing a guidebook to help people with the logistics of running a country food box program. The charity in Iqaluit has run its own country food program for the last 2 years. It draws on local hunters to distribute 400 kilograms of meat each week. So it's written a set of resources to help others start their own programs.
We have to look at the diet that's available here on the land and start from there. And our program aims to support that local economy of food sharing, hunting, and that connection to culture.
To celebrate the launch of those resources, the center hosted a country food market. Space experts are gathering in Whitehorse this week for an international conference. The subject is polar ice on Mars. About 80 researchers from all over the world are attending. The Yukon was chosen as host because it's relatively close to polar terrain. Later this week, attendees will visit Kluane and Tombstone National Parks to see the glaciers and permafrost, and they'll use the experience to identify similar landforms on Mars. The conference ends on Friday. Whitehorse residents aren't the only ones thinking about the future of the red planet. 4 NASA volunteers spent more than a year in a simulated Mars habitat in Texas. They're helping the space agency prepare for the real thing by conducting experiments with limited resources.
I'm very grateful to have had this incredible opportunity to live for a year within the spirit of planetary adventure towards an exciting future.
In total, the team spent 378 days in a 3D habitat that's roughly 160 square meters in size. Similar missions are planned for 2025 and 2027. During her trip to Newfoundland and Labrador last week, the Governor-General touched down in a traditional Innu camp. Mary Simon got the rare opportunity to visit the Mealy Mountain National Park Reserve overlooking Lake Melville. The CBC's Heidi Adder was there.
This is how Mary Simon started her day, helicoptered into Swallow Harbor, about 100 kilometers northwest of Happy Valley Goose Bay. The Governor-General was greeted by Elder Jangwish Elizabeth Panashaway before being welcomed to one of the sites where Innu hope to bring tourists in the future.
Innu people have always wanted to host non-Innu people, but they never had that opportunity because of the language, because of the culture. So with Governor-General's visit, it was very, very a welcoming event.
In the harbor, the Students on Ice vessel is anchored, being used by Innu Nation for a 2-week expedition. The crew is doing research and teaching Innu youth about science and the land. Simon was part of launching that very program 25 years ago, part of a legacy of continuing education.
They're learning more about the land and the waters of this region. I think that's always important for our Indigenous youth to be really involved in expeditions such as this one. And also, you know, the elder is here. They can learn from her knowledge as well.
For generations, Innu have traveled through this land. Simon and her husband stopped to visit the tents here, enjoying a meal of traditional country foods. The pair were also given the chance to fish on a nearby river.
They really were intrigued and really interested in coming back and learning more and supporting the idea and the vision that we want to expose to the world about this area and about the Innu culture as well. So it's really been kind of an eye-opener, and it's really nice to see that as a kind of a kickoff to opening the national park.
There's still work to be done before tourists can make their way to Mealy Mountain National Park. Simon was among the first to experience the landscape, the food, the culture that Innu hope to showcase to other visitors in the future. Heidi Adder, CBC News, Swallow Harbor, Labrador.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is in Washington for the start of a NATO summit. The war in Ukraine will likely top the agenda, but Canada could take some heat for failing to hit spending targets set by the Defence Alliance. Evan Dyer has that story from Washington.
This summit begins in the wake of 2 very important Western European elections in core members of NATO, Britain and France, which will bring something of a relief to the members as they gather here. And it's in the run-up, of course, to an even more consequential election, which is the US presidential election in November. And it's fair to say that NATO was on the ballot in 2 of those 3, or will be in 2 of those 3 elections, the French and the American one. One of the things President Trump has always insisted on, of course, and not only him, but the entire American defense establishment and President Joe Biden, is that Canada spends more. And we expect that to be a major topic here as well. Canada's spending is currently at 1.37% of GDP. It's supposed to get to 2% in order to meet a NATO threshold that an increasing number of countries have met. And we've seen that the pool of countries within NATO who aren't meeting that threshold has shrunk from a majority to now, at this summit, only 9. And of those, Canada is really the only large NATO member that not only isn't there, but doesn't have a plan to get there by the end of the decade. So we can certainly expect to see more pressure. And we did get a hint today in an appearance by Defense Minister Bill Blair at an event here in Washington that there may be some new announcements. Already Canada has made enough announcements to get it to about 1.1 3/4 by the end of the decade. But Defense Minister Bill Blair continues to suggest that Canada will do enough to get to 2%. The question is whether he will be able to present a detailed and convincing enough plan to the other countries here to allay some of that criticism that Canada is expected to face. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Washington.
Extreme heat is stifling parts of Western North America, and there's little relief in sight and during the night. Officials are asking people to prepare now to avoid serious health risks. Anand Ram has more.
The warnings are everywhere as a heat wave is oppressing Canada's western provinces over the next few days.
Getting up into 35, 36, 37, that's extremely hot. So that's something a little more than we're used to.
And that unpreparedness has health officials concerned.
It is the first heat wave, and so some people may not be acclimatized, which is important in terms of some of the health risks.
Environment Canada has issued many heat warnings, with relief only expected towards the end of the week. But down south, like a weighted blanket, the U.S. is also feeling the heat, with cities like Las Vegas breaking temperature records.
Yeah, we were going to walk up and down the strip, but it's just way too hot to do that.
The heat has already killed in California's Death Valley. Health experts say keep a close eye on loved ones, watching for the symptoms of heat illness.
And if you have to be outside for long periods of time because you work outdoors, take multiple breaks, drink lots of water, and do it like several times per hour just so you can cool off a little bit.
And even as records may soon be broken in Canada and the U.S., global records already have. Europe's Climate Monitoring Service says for the 12th straight month, global average surface temperatures have been 1.5 degrees higher than pre-industrial times, flirting with a key threshold set in the Paris Climate Agreement.
2023 was extraordinary, but so far 2024 has been as extraordinary and may yet break that record.
Climate change is boosting the frequency and intensity of these heat waves, but experts warn that if humans continue to burn fossil fuels, what seems like a new normal could lead to even higher temperatures down the road. Anand Ram, CBC News, Toronto.
That heat wave dome may be centered over California, but it is stretching all the way up to the South Slave region of the NWT. Forecasters with Environment and Climate Change Canada have issued heat warnings for Fort Liard, Nahanni Butte, Sombequet, Fort Smith, and Fort Chipewyan.
In addition to heat, there's obviously air quality challenges in the area as well. But looking at heat itself, we're just looking at temperatures probably right around 30, 31 degrees in that time frame. Overnight lows about 14 degrees, so mid-teens temperatures. And that's going to last for the next couple of days. It looks like it's going to start to cool off as that ridge sinks south, collapse south and east. So things should improve on Thursday.
Experts are reminding people to take care if they need to be outside when it's hot. You heard some tips there in Anand's story. And also be sure to check on anyone who's vulnerable to the heat. They're also reminding people to drink lots of water and take lots of breaks. Edmonton is also experiencing some seriously high temperatures. Some business owners are optimistic it'll bring people in, but precautions are being taken as well. Here's Travis McEwen with more.
For Griffin and Brooks Anderson, it's the perfect day to scoot around the skate park, trying out new tricks and showing off while their dad watches on.
I kind of love it, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's great.
But as above 30-degree temperatures are expected, time outside might need to be adapted.
Probably be a lot more indoor time, to be honest with you, and any sort of outdoor time will probably happen early morning, kind of late night when it cools down a little bit.
Edmontonians across the city are taking advantage while the heat wave makes its way across the prairies.
Above normal temperatures developed across southern BC over the weekend. The heat will continue there and expand east, affecting Alberta and southwestern Northwest Territories today, Saskatchewan by Tuesday, and spreading into Manitoba by Wednesday.
It's expected to be potentially dangerous for vulnerable Edmontonians who don't have shelter and can't avoid the extreme heat.
Dehydration, they're looking for heat stroke. Our nurses are also on standby, and they're also instructed to do the rounds as well.
Air conditioning business is already picking up as repairs and replacements become clear during this hot run.
We're already seeing an influx of calls today. I'd say they've probably gone up around 50% from what they were prior to this heat wave coming in.
Some outdoor festivals, like the Edmonton International Street Performers, are making slight adjustments to programming over the next couple of days.
We generally tend to try and get our circle shows to do a little bit shorter shows so that they're like 30 minutes instead of 45, so that both for the performer's sake and for the audience sake, so that we're not standing out in the hot sun for too long.
The heat wave is expected to continue through to Wednesday, tapering after that. Still hot, but not enough for heat warnings. In the meantime, not a bad idea to take advantage of some friends who have a pool. Travis McEwen, CBC News, Edmonton.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.
Are you ready to be entertained?
Stand-up comedy, best comedians from across the globe.
Oh, great.
An incredible lineup.
Canada.
Are you ready? Oh. Are you kidding me?
CBC's got the best in stand-up comedy.
That's pretty unbelievable, man.
It's a scam. It's a scam.
No way.
Ooh.
It's a bit spicy. It'll change your life.
Catch it all free on CBC Gem.
Well done.
Y'all give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
We're not gonna be here forever, right? Makes me want to make some changes, maybe a big one.
Your family can't take much more.
Anyone in your life know you're doing this?
Never really a good time to stir the pot.
I did not know what my future would look like.
The industry wasn't set up for me to thrive in.
I didn't realize how formative 25 to 30 would be.
I was so excited when they said I got to do an interview with you.
Q with Tom Power. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
people dream of seeing the world, but I'm here to eat it. I genuinely love you. I'm here to show you the 12 dishes that define the city.
Très bon, merci.